everybody, welcome back to the Medical Projects YouTube channel. If you are new around here, my name is Olivia and I'm a second year medical student at King's College London, and here on the Medical Projects YouTube channel we are dedicated to creating fantastic bits of content for you. So I'm here to offer you all of the advice I've learned along the way, and I'm also here to show you what medical school is truly like and what life of a medical student really consists of. So if you like the sound of that, do make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn the notification bell on so that you can be notified every single time we post, and also make sure you go and follow us on our social media accounts too. You may also notice it is a Thursday and usually we post on a Tuesday, but unfortunately it's been exam season for me, so I do apologise, but I did want to make this video nonetheless. Now for today's video we are going to be talking about the UCAT exam once again, and if you are new around here or you're thinking about applying to medicine, the UCAT exam stands for the University Clinical Aptitude Test, and it's an exam that many medical schools use to decide if you get an interview. So it isn't the easiest exam, and in order to score well you need to really try and avoid common mistakes and pitfalls, and that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about today. I'm going to be discussing the 5 reasons that people do badly on the UCAT exam. So the first reason I believe that people score badly on the UCAT exam is because they fail to give themselves enough time to prepare. Now this is often because a lot of people will say it's just an aptitude test, you can't really prepare for it, you might as well just look at it the week before. But unless you're literally Einstein, you need to give yourself adequate time to prepare for this exam. It's a very tiring exam and it consists of 5 sections that actually test things that might be quite unfamiliar to you and things that you're not used to doing when you're in school. So I usually recommend you give yourself between 4 and 6 weeks to prepare. Obviously start off general, familiarise yourself with the format of the test, and then closer to your test date make sure you're doing full UCAT timed mocks and really amp up your revision time. The second reason why I believe people do poorly on the UCAT exam is because they don't understand the techniques that you need to use in each section. Now of course everyone's going to have their own ways of doing each section, but there are some specific tips that you can apply to certain areas of the exam. So for example in abstract reasoning, where you have to identify patterns within shapes in a very short amount of time, it's really helpful to be familiar with a mnemonic. The one that I like to use is scans, and you can apply this to this section in order to strategically work out what pattern is in front of you. Another technique, for example, is in verbal reasoning, where you can use a scanning technique instead of reading the full passage. These are all things that will just save you so much time and enable you to get through all of the questions. We do actually have a UCAT crash course which goes through a bunch of these different skills, and we cover every single section in a lot of detail, so if you are interested in that I will leave the link in the description box below. The next reason why people do badly on the UCAT exam is because their revision does not simulate the real exam. Now what I mean by this is an exam that is taken on the computer, and there are many revision guides which are paper-based. So obviously they are helpful in some respects, but you need to make sure you're practicing in the style of the real exam. Also in your real exam, for example in quantitative reasoning, you do not have access to a real life calculator. Rather in the real exam you have to use an on-screen electronic calculator, which is a lot slower and more arduous to use than a normal calculator. So there's no point practicing with a real one because the electronic calculator is a lot slower, and so you need to get used to using this in order to simulate the real exam. Also you only get 1-minute breaks in between each section. You cannot take a break for an extended period of time, and additionally if you finish a section early you don't get that time back on a different section. So you need to make sure that you're being really strict with your timing and you understand the format of the exam and exactly what it's going to look like. The fourth reason why people do badly on the UCAT exam is because they focus on their stronger areas. Of course you're going to want to practice the things that you're good at because it makes you feel good and it boosts your confidence, but when you think about it, if you're already scoring highly in that section, the difference your practice will make is going to be fairly minimal when you consider your score. Whereas if you think about sections you're much worse at, you're going to be scoring pretty low on those initially, but the practice that you put in and the work you put into that section could mean, you score an extra 200 points, which is going to be very significant. Because remember, universities are mainly concerned with your average score rather than fixating on a specific section. I recommend you really look into the techniques that you need to adopt in the sections you're not so good at and practice these. Don't time yourself initially, just make sure you're really putting in some work. So for example, my weakest sections were quantitative reasoning and abstract reasoning, so I made sure to familiarise myself with the basic maths that I was going to need to understand in order to be successful in this section. And then for abstract reasoning, I just did a bunch of practice, looked at all the different pattern combinations I could be given, and then in the end, in the exam, it was one of my highest scoring sections. And finally, the last reason I believe that people don't do so well in this exam is probably the most important reason, and that is due to timing. Now with the UCAT exam, the questions themselves are not that difficult, but the reason it's so challenging is because you have to answer all of these questions in a very strict time manner. So for example, in abstract reasoning, you literally have 13 to 14 seconds to answer one question, and then similarly in verbal reasoning, you have to read a passage of text and answer 4 questions in 2 minutes. So of course you don't need to time yourself at the beginning when you start doing your practice, but when it gets closer to your exam date, there's no point spending 10 minutes on one question when in reality you've only got 2 minutes. My biggest tip when it comes to timing is just to be disciplined, and if you are running out of time, guess the question, flag it, and move on, because at the end of the day, the UCAT exam is not negatively marked, but you aren't going to get any points for a blank answer, so you might as well make sure that you've put an answer down for every single question. So those are my 5 tips as to why I think people do badly and flunk the UCAT exam. It is such a difficult exam, and you know, there's no shame in having to take it more than once. So many medical students are reapplicants, and it's just one of those things where you really need to look at what went wrong. Maybe it was your timing, maybe it was because you didn't understand the techniques that you had to utilize, and then make sure you focus your revision tackling those weaker areas. Again, I do just want to reiterate, we do have a UCAT crash course, and if you think you'd benefit from really being guided through this exam and get way ahead of everyone, do make sure you check out the link in the description box below. So those are all of my tips for today's video. Once again, do make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. I really hope you found this video informative, and I really just want to wish you the best of luck for preparing for this exam. It is not fun, but before you know it, it will be over with and you will have conquered it, and you will be very proud of yourself. Thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in another video very soon. Bye!